Alright, so here's my 5 people, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for my living history speech. Can you get the television, Michael? Ready? Okay. Hi, I'm Wendy Gray. This is my living history speech for my Communication 231 class. The name of my speech is Far From Home, because that's where my father-in-law William was whenever he got the news of his brother's death. The Vietnam War started in an area known as Indochina in 1955 and continued for 20 years until 1975 with the fall of Saigon. The Vietnam War was a communist cold military war fought between the North Vietnamese and their communist allies and the South Vietnamese, supported by the U.S. and non-communist countries. Between 1 and 3 million lives were lost in the Vietnam War. 58,220 of those lives were Americans. In 1968, William, my father-in-law, was just graduating from Page High School, and he decided he wanted to go into the military. Now, the draft was in force then, and if you were a draftee, you didn't get to choose which military service, but if you volunteered, you got to choose. My father-in-law chose the U.S. Coast Guard. Once he enlisted with the Coast Guard, he was quickly sent off to boot camp in Yorktown, Virginia, and from there he was assigned a seaman's post aboard the USS Coast Guard cutter Ingham. At that time, the Vietnam War was mostly guerrilla fighting, rice paddies and jungle type of fighting. But the supply ships and everything were right along the Vietnam coast, and the Coast Guard was asked to set up a picket line to stop those supply ships from coming in. The Ingham was one of those ships that was sent to the South China Sea. So that's where my father-in-law was, December 31st, 1969, whenever he got the news of his brother's death. He was on one of the ships, the Ingham, on the coast of Vietnam in the South China Sea. The captain called him to his quarters, asked him to sit down, poured him a drink, told him about his brother's death. His brother, Jesse Carl Gray, was a fireman here in Greensboro, and he was on a house fire call whenever he died in the line of duty, December 31st, 1969. Whenever my father-in-law got the news, he was given a bereavement leave and to go home, of course, for his brother's funeral. He had to wait 2 days aboard the Coast Guard cutter Ingham for a freighter ship to pass by, and during that 2 days he was waiting, he finally got a ride home over to Norfolk, Virginia. Once he got to Norfolk, Virginia, he had to hitchhike his way back home, and he didn't think he was going to be able to get back. The ride that he got, he'd only made it part of the way to Greensboro. But when the guy found out, the guy that he hitchhiked from found out that why he was coming home, the guy actually brought him all the way home to his doorstep, which was really kind. He was still 10 days late for his brother's funeral, and after paying their respects at his brother's grave, he went over to the firehouse to visit the firefighters. William had actually wanted to be a fireman and had planned that after he was discharged from the service. He never realized that dream. William never became a fireman. He did go back and complete his tour on the Ingham, and from there he went to Rutledge College in South Carolina. He then married and had kids and named one of his sons after his brother's memory, Jesse Carl Gray. Thank y'all. Have a great one.